live chat, chat actions button.
Don't worry about them in human rights. Don't worry about what
like this video along with dislike this video along with
the United States is no longer interested in talking
Saying 10 subscribe.
We'll focus on security and
Menu button.
economics. Then he said to NATO,
button out of list. Clear button.
say that he
live.
would make sure that
Navigator
NATO
button.
countries would be
live.
protected by the United
Double
States
tap to activate.
invoking Article
live.
5
Edit.
that
Clear
attack
button.
against one is an
List.
attack against all.
Expand menu clear.
Then finally, he pulled out
Navigator
the
button.
Paris Agreement.
Editing box sync live. Edit.
Taking
Clear
all
button.
those things together,
List.
what we see is
Clear
America
button.
pulling
Editing box
back
sync.
from its engagement in the world,
Search.
pulling back
List.
from its historic stance as a
Keyboard.
leader on human rights,
Navigator button.
right,
Box sync live.
and
Clear
turning
button.
in a way
Filter
that
button.
Russia and China
Box sync
and some of these other
WB3CAI
countries
live
that
stream.
we've been
Box sync
contesting
stream
for the
3
last
menu
couple
button.
dozen years,
Box sync
turning
20
the way
videos
that
10
they do,
subscribers.
which is
Testing
that
live,
we
box
are
sync,
not going
menu
to hold
button.
people
Testing
accountable
live, box sync, stream 16 hours ago, no
for
views.
only worry about
Menu button.
security and economics.
Alpha Oscar 24 videos, 21. Menu button. Testing live, box sync, menu button.
Leader around the world.
Box sync WB3CAI live stream. Box sync, stream 3 weeks ago, no views.
Is trying
Filter
to
button out of
make
list.
sure
Clear
that
button.
we put America
Box sync
first,
live.
but if we're not, if we're
Navigator
going to
button.
get into deals and pacts and
Box sync live.
agreements,
Clear button.
make sure that it's a
Box sync live.
for
Box
the
sync.
American
Library
people,
out of
for
list.
the American
Library.
taxpayer, for
Anderson.
the
Bracket the free
workers who
nationals.
are getting
Expand.
this money
Box sync. Menu button.
and need the
Box sync
American
20
jobs
testing
and
live. Box sync.
workforce to be
Menu button.
sound and
Testing live. Box sync. Stream 16 hours ago, no views.
There's a
Menu
false
button.
notion going around with liberals
Alpha
around
Oscar
here
24
talking
videos,
about
20. Anderson. Bracket the free menu
because the
button.
president has pulled out of the agreement,
YouTube.
which he had within the
Video
right to
button.
do,
Showing items 1 to 3.
somehow
Search button.
we're not going to have a
Account
new
new content
agreement.
available. 61 seconds. The
When he
Volkswagen
pulls out
Atlas
of
follow. Account new
the
content
Congress
available.
votes
Out of
on repealing and
61
replacing
seconds. The
Obamacare, we have
Volkswagen
to
Atlas. Go to
there's
channels
not
button.
going to be anything to
Menu
replace it with.
Well, the
That's
Europeans say that there's not.
315. Go
They're
to
not
channel.
going to
The
sign
Commerce
on
Salt.
to
Menu
any
Kids TV.
agreement. That's what the whole Paris agreement was.
Go to
That's
channel
what they
button.
did.
Well,
Time
and
to
the
activate.
Fed's going to renegotiate it with them, and if they
Navigator button.
care,
Search.
if they truly care
Options
about
Multi-page view.
climate, if they
Expand
truly
menu clear.
care about having
Selected
something that's sound and that's good, they
Trending.
will come back to the table and do
Subscriptions.
something that is
Library.
not just good for them, but good for everyone. That's
Navigator
the president's responsibility.
Volkswagen
And
USA.
Don't forget the president also
Videos.
pulled out of the
Double tap to
Trans-Pacific
activate. Selected
Partnership,
home.
which basically
Options button.
leaves the Pacific
Search.
Rim
Volkswagen
trade-wise
USA.
open to the Chinese.
Navigator button.
When you take all of these things together, we
Library.
are not only doing
Subscriptions.
America first,
Trending.
we're doing America
Selected
only.
home.
And this is the
Expand
kind
menu
of thing that will cause us to have a long
Testing live. Upcoming event in list. Pause button.
Well,
Like this video along with zero. Like this video along with share.
And he's
President
Add
wrong.
to.
He was elected by a
Box segment, 10
minority of the
subscribers.
American
Subscribe to the
public,
channel.
turning
Box
us
segment,
into
add to.
a
Share.
acolyte
It's like
of
this
the
video,
Russian
like this video
people,
along
and it's a
with button.
problem for the entire
Testing live. Upcoming event.
Yeah,
Fast forward button. Out of list.
Another reminder,
Rewind button.
another reminder
Options button.
that Hillary Clinton
Share button.
said she would have
Add to
voted
button.
for that TV.
Minimize button.
But we'll
Rating
leave
box
that
segment,
back
June
there.
5th,
But let me
2017,
ask you one more
9:21
thing.
p.m.
We just have about a minute left.
000
Do you think there's more talk in Washington
Button
that
in list.
the health
Menu
care
button.
bill is not going to make it?
96 seconds.
To
Progress
the
bar. Box
Senate,
segment.
there's not
401
the will
views.
there to do it among
Last stream live on May 16th, 2017. Subscribe to the channel using box segment 10 subscribers. Add to.
Listen,
Share.
the president is meeting with
Volkswagen UN.
members of the
Subscribe to this
Republican
channel. 91 seconds. Go to
Senate
channel
and the
button.
House
Menu button.
tonight at dinner. He's going to
51 seconds. Volkswagen USA. Menu
about the
button.
importance of
61
passing
seconds.
legislative
Volkswagen
agenda
USA.
because
Menu
they all
button.
know
2 minutes 12 seconds. Volkswagen USA.
Tax
Menu
reform
button.
is something that I hope
Volkswagen
Democrats will
2017.
not
Menu button.
stall
Button.
and be obstructionists on and really come together to
2:15.
something
Go to channel.
positive for the
Living on the
American
salt.
people.
Menu
But
kids
with
TV.
respect to Obamacare,
Home.
listen, the Senate has to do
Overview button.
something. It's a great opportunity
Overview.
for the Republicans to stand up and say, we care and we're going to do
YouTube
something positive for
Dismiss
the
YouTube
American
button.
And the clock is running out for them to get anything done in the House of the Senate. And I think we're going to be in pretty tough shape as the Trump administration to get anything
Account
done.
new content
That's Jamal
available.
Simmons, a
61
Democratic
seconds.
strategist, and
Volkswagen.
Paris
Go to
Denard,
channel button.
Republican strategist.
Account new
You're
content available.
now
Add.
contributors both.
Close.
Thanks so much.
Close button.
Thank you.
Account.
It's here and now.
Your channel button in list. Mark sync. Switch accounts. My channel. Notifications for.
Bringing
Get YouTube
voices and
TV.
stories
Get
from
YouTube Red.
all over the world
Switch
to
account.
Pittsburgh.
Sign out.
Digging deep into
Settings.
critical issues that
Terms and
impact
privacy
all of
policy.
southwestern
Feedback.
Pennsylvania. This is 90.5 WESA.
Feedback.
Pittsburgh.
Terms and privacy
NPR
settings.
News.
Sign out. Switch
Follow us
account.
on
Get
Twitter,
YouTube Red. Get
Facebook,
YouTube TV.
and Instagram.
Notifications. My channel. Mark
This
sync.
is
Switch accounts.
90.5
My
FM,
channel.
WESA.
90.5
Video.
HD1
Navigator button.
Pittsburgh.
Mark sync.
NPR News.
Upload.
Streaming at
Search.
WESA.FM.
Selected home.
I'm Robin Young.
Videos. Playlists. Channels.
A new book collects conversations with
Mark
guitar
sync 10 subscribers. Channel settings button. Live Tuesday test.
to Eddie Van Halen
Go to channel
decades
button.
later.
Live Tuesday test. Channels. Expand live chat. Live chat. Show items 1 to 3 of 15. Double tap to activate. Tuesday test. Tuesday test list. Go to channel button. Live Tuesday test.
This afternoon at 2 on 90.5 WESA. There's no shortage of interesting Pittsburgh stories.
It was a crossover, you might say, transformed himself into a candidate that was acceptable to all Pittsburghers.
Like a very unique Pittsburgh thing that people, they know it exists, but they don't know what it actually is.
She had a box of clippings and things from when Graham Irma was on city council.
I think it's Steeler Bites was the first one because they were having a really good season.
Send us your lingering questions about Pittsburgh. It's online at wesa.fm/goodquestion.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and your NPR station. LegalZoom.com, providing legal answers to the day-to-day questions of small business owners through its network of independent attorneys available nationwide. More information at LegalZoom.com/now. And Staples, offering copy and print solutions for businesses, from color copies to presentations to promotional products. More at Staples stores or Staples.com. Staples, it's pro time.
This is Here and Now from NPR and WBUR. I'm Jeremy Hobson. What could be the largest defamation lawsuit in U.S. history kicks off this week as the makers of a controversial processed meat product take ABC News to court for branding their product Pink Slime. Beef Products Incorporated says ABC unfairly characterized their product, lean, finely textured beef, in a series of reports that made waves in 2012. Here's anchor Diane Sawyer leading ABC's World News broadcast in March of 2012.
Now, a startling ABC News investigation. A whistleblower has come forward to tell consumers about the ground beef a lot of us buy at the supermarket. Is it what we think it is, or is it padded with a filler the whistleblower calls Pink Slime?
Well, the trial began yesterday, and for more, we're joined by the Wall Street Journal's Jason Bellini. Jason, what exactly is this company, Beef Products, accusing ABC News of doing with their reporting?
Hi, Jeremy. The $6 billion word in this case is slime. That's what they're telling jurors, in this case that's just begun, was misleading to viewers. And they're alleging that this is what turned off customers, dramatically hurting their business, causing lots of people to lose their jobs. And in their opening statements, the lawyers for Beef Products Incorporated says that ABC ignored the proper name, and it had a major news organization that was calling the product slime. Then they showed them pictures of the beef and said, it physically doesn't look like slime. That was the argument they're making to the jurors in this case.
And what is ABC likely to say in response? How are they defending what they did?
Well, in several ways. One, they're saying that ABC's report wasn't about safety, but rather about labeling. And they point out that in their reports, they did say that this product was safe, or didn't say that it was unsafe for viewers. And the ABC's lawyers are also saying that the company's secrecy, the company's secrecy was the real story that they were getting at. And again, they kept coming back to the fact that they repeatedly specified in their reporting that this type of lean beef, what they labeled slime, is safe to eat.
And you mentioned $6 billion, that this is the $6 billion question. Why are we talking about $6 billion? It has to do with Idaho, right? South Dakota, rather.
Well, right. South Dakota, they have a law called the Agricultural Foods Products Disparagement Act, and it imposes liability for knowingly publishing false information that asserts or implies that agricultural food product isn't safe for public consumption. And there's over a dozen states that have enacted these so-called food libel statutes, and the idea is that it helps shield the food production industry from bogus safety scares.
And could this trial have implications for other?
I wonder how many seconds behind I am.
Yeah, it absolutely could.
Absolutely, as right as I walked in the room.
$1 billion range, $6 billion, it's hundreds of millions of dollars.
How about a few?
Saying that can have a real stifling effect on news, and what they're doing is the opinion polls are showing a decline in trust in the media. It's not a great time to be going in front of a jury with a libel case right now.
That's Jason Bellini, a reporter with the Wall Street Journal. We'll be watching the Pink Slime trial, if I'm allowed to call it that. Jason, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's hear it.
Former Dallas police chief David O. Brown made headlines when he told protesters to put down their signs and join the force. In his new book, he talks about what it takes to heal racial division.
It takes not a big group, not yelling and screaming,
But let's sit down and listen to each other and invite someone home for dinner. I'm Robert Siegel, former Police Chief David O'Brown this afternoon on All Things Considered from NPR News.
This afternoon
Hey, Bill,
from
no
4 to
comment.
6:30
I'm
on
live
90.5
streaming if you
WESA.
do. So give me a call,
Jack
6513.
Lepiar's Kuwait is trying to mediate the diplomatic tangle involving Qatar and the Arab nations that have suspended ties with it. The move allegedly is over Qatar's support of regional terrorist groups, something the country denies. The president on Twitter says he supports the move. Minnesota is joining the list of states bound to uphold the Paris Climate Accord after
It's
President
not
last
12:37,
week
it's
said the US would pull out
1:37.
of the deal. Governor Mark Dayton says Minnesota will join 8
What
other
can I do
states,
here?
including California, New York, and Washington. They all pledged to reduce emissions 26 to 28% from 2005 levels. House lawmakers are set to vote on a bipartisan measure calling for action against Turkey's presidential bodyguards. That after video of bodyguards taking violent action against peaceful protesters outside the Turkish embassy in Washington. The bill is expected to get a vote today. You're listening to Hear It Now.
This week on the Trump on Earth podcast, we are beginning to build the wall. President Trump's border wall would impact people on both sides of the border, but it could also stop migrating animals like jaguars and wolves. The wall and the environment. This week on Trump on Earth on WESA.fm or TrumpOnEarth.org.
Okay, well, I don't really have to go.
National, global. This is 90.5 WESA, Pittsburgh's NPR news station. Subscribe to our podcast and RSS feed. Visit WESA.fm.
WESA is supported by Pittsburgh Magazine, presenting the 28th Annual Best Restaurants Party, Pittsburgh's foodie event, Monday, June 12th at Heinz Field. Additional information and tickets for the 21 and over event are available at pittsburghmagazine.com/party.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and your NPR station. Postersmith, printing posters on wrinkle-resistant foldable fabric that transports flat for conference presentations. Postersmith provides its service to research communities worldwide. Learn more at postersmith.com. And Carbonite, working to protect data from ransomware and other cyber attacks through automatic and secure cloud backup of data. Available for business and home computers and servers. Learn more at carbonite.com.
It's Here and Now. Saturday's attack on the iconic London Bridge in nearby Borough Market was the third attack in the UK since March, and many Londoners are living by the old World War II slogan, keep calm and carry on. After all, they were bombed by the Nazis. They rose from that rubble, so they will soldier on. But is something changing now? For a postcard from London, we called Paul Gammaccini, a longtime presenter for the BBC, called the professor of pop for his scholarly take on music and popular culture, and as some listeners know, an old friend of mine. In fact, Paul is a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. He moved to Britain in the 70s. He joined us by Skype. And Paul, you've been emailing friends. You were not at the Borough Market, but felt the reverberations that night?
Yes, I live 1.3 miles away, and our place is on the road from Borough Market to St. Thomas's Hospital. And we experienced what I call time lag terrorism. So we had sirens going until 2:30 in the morning, and the melancholy thought was that inside each of these vehicles is a person who has been wounded or killed.
Well, and then, of course, you know, the pictures start tumbling out of what was happening at the heart of the attacks. Tell us about the Borough Market, what this means to Londoners.
Borough Market is London's finest food market, and this is a site of a few acres of various restaurants, shops, bars, and for example, every week I go there to have what the New York Times called the world's greatest sandwich. It's a twisted cheese sandwich, 4 different Mexican combined cheeses with chocolate.
You're giving us a sense of what this space meant to Londoners. But what will they now not go?
Of course they'll go. I mean, I'm going to go in 2 days. I cannot forego my weekly fix of toasted cheese sandwich just because of a few fruitcakes. It's interesting that the last 2 times I had visited, I had noted that this would be a perfect spot for one of these deranged motorists who likes to drive a car into a bunch of pedestrians, because there are hundreds of people in the side streets just waiting to be run down if you were of that mentality. So each of these last two lunchtimes, I made sure that I stood in the covered area under the railroad bridge.
So you're saying we've already been thinking about this?
Yes, and you have to remember I lived through the IRA bombs in the 70s and 80s, and I think all Londoners make slight adjustments. They figure out, okay, now I'm in a building, what is the exit? If someone were to come in shooting, where would I go? It's just part of a survival mechanism.
Well, and you say when you do go back to this, really beloved space, it will be more of a pilgrimage this time. Will you say or do anything different, or is it just the act of doing it?
It's the act of doing it, and if you see a familiar face, you'll say, I'm here. That's all you need. You hear people say, we don't give in to this type of people. Well, we don't give in to this type of people. One reason we don't give in to this type of people is we don't respect this type of people. This is religious extremism, which nobody outside of that own extreme form of religion takes seriously. And that's one of the problems, actually, that London has had, is because it's easy to write off people who you put in that bin with, dare I mention a couple of other religions that don't get much credence in Britain, Scientology and Jedi. It's only because this is happening again and again that people are starting to think, okay, this is really serious, let's take it seriously. And I have to tell you, the phone-in programs today are dominated by the fact that the leader of these assailants had already appeared in a Channel 4 documentary as a follower of ISIS. And a lot of people are saying, well, hang on, why wasn't this guy pulled aside before now? And that's today's big controversy.
Well, what about you? Because as you wrote to some of your friends, part of me is civilized. Well, much of you is civilized, Paul Gambaccini. But you say when all the IRA terrorists were Catholics, we did not persecute Catholics. When all of the loyalist paramilitaries in Northern Ireland were Protestants, we did not persecute all Protestants. Now all the terrorists are Muslims. We should not persecute Muslims. We should donate millions of pounds to identifying through cyber means all supporters of terrorism, inspect their homes, and prosecute where appropriate. So you're saying you want more of a reaction to those that the country knows are radicals?
Well, I'm not alone in this. There's a list of 3,000 people who are known to have radical and perhaps violent, or at least supportive of violent views. Now, the problem is, as I've said, 99.99+% of British Muslims are peaceful people. Unfortunately, 100% of British terrorists this century have been Muslims. So therefore, all civilized people, including civilized Muslims, feel that we can identify these people who are leaning towards terrorism because it's there in the social media records. And because, as you know, there's an election in 2 days, both parties are slinging mud at each other, trying to pretend which party is soft on terrorism. But everyone is calling for more money for the anti-terrorist branch of the police, because it's clear that the problem is of a greater scope than had previously been imagined, and there needs to be more money on tracking down people who have already expressed antisocial views.
Look, I'm hearing what you just said from all fronts. Very working class Richmond resident Paul Marsh is quoted in one of the London papers. He grew up in, is it Luton, the Muslim community outside London?
Correct.
Yeah. And he said, I've got tremendous friends who are Muslims. This day, I keep in contact with them. It's the radicals that have gone crazy. Something has to be done. So that there is.
Remember what we said. All the IRA terrorists were Catholics. It didn't mean we persecuted Catholics. It did mean we tried to stop the IRA. And that's what the situation is right now.
But you, I'm sure, have heard what's bubbling up. That exchange between Katie McHugh with Breitbart, who tweeted out there would be no deadly terror attacks in the UK if Muslims didn't live there. She was tweeted back at by Andrew Beatty, who's with another news organization, AFP, in Northern Ireland. He wrote, "Hi, Katie, I'm Andrew from Northern Ireland. Happy to answer any questions you may have about the IRA, the INLA, the UDF, the UFF, the UDA. These are all the paramilitary organizations from the times of the Troubles," pointing out to her that London has been here before. Are you worried that Londoners might not remember that, and there might be a backlash against the Muslims that live among you?
Well, in a matter like this, older people have lived through more than younger people. And it's always possible that younger people might not know certain historical things. But in these matters, younger people tend to be more understanding because they have more of their own personal friends who are Muslims. And they realize that if Britain had thrown out all Catholics because of the IRA and all Protestants because of the host of parliamentaries, there wouldn't be many people left. One more thought I'd like to express is how helpful President Trump is and how hated he is in London. I have lived here for 45 years, and never has a president of the United States been as detested as President Trump is in London. He is so unhelpful. His tweets, incredibly insensitive. And J.K. Rowling put it best when she tweeted, "It's called leadership, Donald. The terrorists were dead 8 minutes after police got the call. If we need an alarmist blowhard, we'll call."
Okay, so President Trump not popular there right now. Look, in your mind, neither is Mark Zuckerberg. You lay a lot of the blame on what's happening on social media titans.
Well, what's happened is, as we've seen, unfortunately, the main form of communication between the terrorists is the social media. And therefore, they can no longer pretend that they're not a part of the crisis. It's unfortunate for them. We're not blaming them. They couldn't have been expected to foresee this, but now they can be expected to hold some of the responsibility for reacting. And the Prime Minister, in her reaction to the tragedy, pointed this out and said that the social media have got to take an active role in assuming some kind of responsibility for being accessories to this, even though they never set out to be.
Paul Gambaccini, when we first started getting your emails as this attack was unfolding, you sounded so tremendously sad, and I know you still are, for the victims. But now I'm hearing something different.
Well, as Theresa May said, enough is enough. And I think it's the unanimous response now that really, okay, we're fed up now. It is just time to actively prevent attacks before they happen.
Is something broken, though, in London? Has a spirit broken?
Nothing's broken among Londoners about London. I've lived through several lifestyle fads: beatniks, hippies, Palestinians and Cubans, hijacking airplanes, the IRA, and so forth. In every case, it's a generational fad, and it ends. And I'm quite prepared to believe that this generational fad amongst Islamist extremists will end, because the next generation will look back on its elders and say, well, you made a mistake. But while it's happening, we have to fight it.
Paul Gambaccini, a voice, a powerful one from London. Paul, thanks as always.
You're welcome.
And Paul mentioned the upcoming election this afternoon on All Things Considered, how questions about safety may affect the British elections on Thursday. That's still to come today. Right now, you're listening to Here and Now.
Next time on The World, a remarkable girl in India who was sold into the sex trade by her own family.
And one night, while my mother and aunt stood outside the door, this person came to my room. I begged this person to let me go, but he had paid.
How she found a different path, returned to school, and is building a bright future for herself. Our story from Mumbai on The World.
Tonight at 7 on 90.5 WESA.
A state Supreme Court justice.
I was the first African-American woman.
A university president.
Pirates came out, you could just hang out with them.
A refugee from a war-torn country.
There was a lot of civil war in the country where we...
Distinct voices, unique stories, one city. Summer of StoryCorps Pittsburgh. Sunday and Tuesday mornings on 90.5 WESA and online at WESA.FM. Made possible by Hilda and Freddie Fu and the Pittsburgh Foundation.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and your NPR station. Landmark College, a college serving students who learn differently, with faculty specializing in LD support, associate, bachelor, transitional bridge semesters, plus summer programs beginning in July.
Well, they're reading the help.
LDbridge.org. And ADT Security, helping to protect families and homes for over 140 years. Learn more at ADT.com.
This is Here and Now.
Let's close
Uber
that.
and Lyft have returned to Austin, Texas. They left the city for a year in protest of city fingerprinting requirements. They're back thanks to a new regulatory framework signed by the governor. In their absence, Austin residents got used to a new nonprofit alternative called Ride Austin. But now that Uber and Lyft are back, Ride Austin is suffering. Marissa Goldenberg is the Chief Operating Officer of Ride Austin. She joins us now. Welcome.
Thank you, Jeremy, for having me.
Well, and for people who don't know, for people outside of Austin, tell us, first of all, just what the idea of Ride Austin was in the first place.
Well, about a year ago, there was essentially a battle between Uber and Lyft in the city of Austin in terms of requirements for the drivers who participated with the rideshare business. Largely, this was around fingerprinting, and Uber and Lyft thought that fingerprinting all drivers would essentially break their model. They ended up pushing it to a vote. Ultimately, they lost, and the voters went with requiring all drivers to have fingerprint background checks, and so Uber and Lyft packed up and left. And they did this very suddenly, and so 10,000 drivers were left out of income very abruptly.
Well, and also we hear that there were massive traffic problems in the city with no access to ride-hailing programs. There were DUIs, reports of DUIs going up, and parking problems.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there certainly is.
You'll love it.
And,
The camera's upside down.
Continue to sit around and complain about the traffic woes, or we kind of come together as a group and try to fulfill that void. And so very quickly a team was assembled to create an alternative to Uber, even though there were several other platforms that were moving their operations to Austin to try to help fill the void as well. We felt that we could do something differently and take a very different approach than the typical Uber or Lyft model.
Well, how did you do that in a nonprofit way?
So as a nonprofit, really the goal wasn't to return value to the shareholders, because there are none as a nonprofit, but really to kind of give back to the community. So it's really, we wanted to learn about the market, see what we could do to help Austin get back on the road, get drivers back to making an income, moving passengers around, and also sharing data with the city. So how can the city improve their transportation infrastructure? And we're completely willing to share as much data as possible.
So how did it work out for you while they were gone, while Uber and Lyft were out of Austin?
We've had a phenomenal run. We've almost been in business for an entire year, and we started slow. Early on, we were so excited just to have, a few hundred rides a day. And, ultimately at our peak, I think we hit, about 20,000 rides during the peak of South by.
It would be good
but,
to know.
It's been a really long climb to kind of get to where we are, but we believe right before Uber and Lyft came back that we're about 50% of the market here in Austin.
And then when they came back, you saw your users drop by 36%?
That was actually just through Monday
It would
through
be good
Wednesday.
to
If you
know.
actually look at the whole week, Monday through Sunday, we're actually down 55% versus the week.
Okay, that's right. That's
Why do you
not
think that is?
okay.
People in Austin got so used
No,
to
that
using
way.
Ride Austin. Why have they switched back?
So there's a few factors at play. One of them is also the seasonality. So in any city, the people kind of ebb and flow, whether you have locals driving around or tourists coming into town. And the week after Memorial Day and a few weeks of June typically are very slow compared to the rest of the season. So the UT students, they've all gone home. Professionals, their kids are graduating from elementary school or high school or middle school or whatever. So people kind of have other things on their mind. But absolutely, Uber and Lyft certainly had an impact. And a lot of it is the price point. When Uber and
Am I alive or am I upside down?
Wages to the drivers, you certainly have folks that want to go after the cheapest price. It's Walmart, rideshare.
How much more is Ride Austin than Uber, would you say?
So on at an average ride, we're probably about $3 higher.
Do you think that makes enough of a difference that some people obviously have decided to switch back?
It does. I think rideshare has become effectively a commodity business. To really get significant volumes does require prices to go down.
So I take both taxis and Ubers and Lyfts, and one thing that I can tell you, and I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, is that the taxi drivers can't stand the Uber and Lyft drivers. Do you face that same kind of hatred from the taxi industry in Austin?
Well, we hear that anecdotally from the drivers. Some of the feedback that we get is, late at night, they'll have reports of taxi drivers swerving to cut them off or just being very aggressive.
So even though you're a nonprofit, you still face
Of course, it takes
from
away
the
their
taxi.
business.
Right.
Yeah, it takes away their business.
So do you think that you're going to stick around now?
We are absolutely going to give it our best shot. It remains to be seen, how much of the local market will continue to support us. We do need to keep 20,000 rides, per week on an ongoing basis to sustain ourselves. The summer will make that more challenging to hit with Uber and Lyft back. But in the fall, we expect certainly that the volumes will come back with the return of the students. We've got big festivals. There's just a lot more activity going around from the rideshare business among people who live in Austin.
That's Marissa Goldenberg, who is Chief Operating Officer at Ride Austin. Marissa, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
And Here Now is a production of NPR and WBUR in association with the BBC World Service. I'm Jeremy Hobson.
I'm Robin Young. This is Here and Now.
Funding for Here and Now comes from Home Advisor, matching homeowners with background check professionals for a variety of home projects, from minor repairs to major remodels. Homeowners can read reviews, compare prices, and book appointments online at homeadvisor.com.
90.5 WESA is supported by our members and by ADT, offering 24/7 monitoring. More information available at ADT.com.
On the next Fresh Air, we talk with National Geographic conservation photographer Paul Nicklin, who specializes in taking pictures of the polar regions.
Hello.
He's been focusing on the impact of climate change on polar bears, penguins, sea animals, and the ice. He grew up in an Inuit community a few hundred miles from the North Pole. Join us.
This afternoon at 3 on 90.5 WESA.
90.5 WESA is supported by the Center for Young Musicians, a music school with locations in Metzger, Sewickley, Shadyside, and Fox Chapel. CYM develops a student's lifelong love of music, offering instruction for piano, guitar, strings, and voice through a long-term curriculum. Summer registration and more information is available at youngmusicians.org. Local, national, global.
Hello.
Every hour. This is 90.5 WESA.
Hello.
Pittsburgh's NPR News.
Yes.
For a look at our complete schedule
Okay.
of programs.
Yeah. Can you go on your?
Analysis and perspective
Can you go on
from all over the
YouTube
world,
now?
Right here at home. Visit WESA.FM. You can also begin
Oh.
to renew your membership there. All of our programming is made
Oh,
possible.
okay. All right.
Right now,
Well, I
it's
think
over time for the second hour.
yeah, I'll be in. I think I'm live streaming.
90.5 FM WESA.
Live from my office.
WESA HD1, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Funding for Here and Now
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
from MathWorks.
Yeah, YouTube.com.
Software. Accelerating
And
the pace of
it's
engineering and
it's
science.
if you
Learn more
it's
at
it's
MathWorks.com.
user
NPR and WBUR
slash I don't know, I'm giving a web address, so it's youtube.com/user/WB3 CAI, which is my ham call sign, WB3 CAI/live.
Alive. And a little girl who creeps out from under her dead mother's hijab.
It may or not, I don't know if I might
miscarriage
be
to obtain a modified birth certificate.
/live.
It's a step toward restricting
And
abortion
then I think it
rights
says Tuesday test is the stream.
mandate the parents to obtain one. So this is only.
So I have no idea what I'm
If a
doing.
child between 9 and 20 weeks wants to do it and has a 30-day window to do
Okay,
it.
okay. Yeah, I'll play with it tomorrow. It's funny because I go down the hall and I get Ian and I have like the camera upside down and I'm like trying to move it this way and this way. It's like hilarious. Anyway, so I had my microphone on and then I didn't have the camera on and I'm using it like, oh, I'll turn the camera on. Oh, well, that's how you do it. Oh, so I mean, it's like there's like a control panel. Yeah, by tomorrow, my audience is 2 right now. I'm watching. I was you were going to be 3. My 300%. The audience has increased 300% on the first.
When you have a special relationship, it's no different than when you've got a close mate. You stand with them in times of adversity, but you call them out when they're
So
wrong.
anyway, it's possible. But guess what my problem was? When I'm here at work, I'm clicking on the stuff and it doesn't work. And then I didn't see it. Down at the bottom it says, sorry, network blocked by the firewall. So I'm wasting my time at work because they don't want you to do that. So then I connected using the CDC guest network, and well, there it is. Okay.
Prosecutors are opening a counter-terrorism investigation after
Yeah.
a man tried to attack Paris police
All right,
officers
have a good
outside
trip.
the
Where's she off to?
Cathedral today. The man was
Oh, okay.
armed with a
Oh, okay.
hammer and was shouting, "It's for
Okay.
Syria." Authorities shot and wounded the
Okay,
suspect.
well,
Turkey and Iran
we'll send her the
are
thing. Maybe we'll be
dialogue
broadcasting
after
live
multiple
tomorrow.
Arab states cut
Yeah.
relations with Qatar. NPR's Allison Muse reports the rift stems from accusations
Yeah,
of
there you go.
Qatar's support
All right.
for terrorist groups.
I'm getting closer. All right, see you later then.
Erdogan
All right, bye-bye.
calls for Gulf states
Bye-bye.
to solve their problems through negotiation. He cites Turkey's economic interests with Qatar and the countries seeking to isolate it. Those include Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Bahrain, who've given Qatar's diplomats and citizens an ultimatum to leave. They've even banned Qatari flights from their airspace. President Trump visited Saudi Arabia 2 weeks ago in an effort to gather Arab allies against ISIS and Iran. But now Qatari flights are forced to fly over Iran. And the head of Iran's Export Confederation calls the rift a unique opportunity for Iran to
Can't really tell where I'm at. Here
Also
I
News,
am.
NPR News, Beirut.
California Governor Jerry Brown is in China today, calling on the world to work together to deal with carbon emissions and climate change. His plea follows President Trump's
So am I upside down or what? I don't know.
China's playing a leading.
Know what I'm doing.
California's also playing a key role, and so are Europeans and many people in the world. So nobody can stay on the sidelines.
Brown was speaking in Beijing. China is the world's largest emitter of greenhouse gases.
So if I point the camera at the screen,
Lower on Wall Street, the Dow is down 31 points. The
what do we get?
Nasdaq down 2. The S&P 500 down 3. You're listening to NPR News in Washington. British author Helen Dunmore has died at age 64 from cancer. She wrote across genres and ages, including poetry, novels, young adult fiction, children's books, even fantasy novels. But as NPR's Rose Friedman reports, she will perhaps be best remembered for her historical fiction.
Helen Dunmore wrote about the 1941 siege of Leningrad, the Cold War, and she wrote a lot about World War I. Dunmore explained why at the London Book Fair in 2014.
I think it's the story of my grandparents, probably the story of a whole generation that.
So there's a rocker switch on here, Ian, if you're listening.
And now all those people have gone, and maybe we regret that we didn't ask them more.
Helen Dunmore won the Orange Prize for one of those books, A Spell of Winter, but she kept a low profile. In 2009, she submitted a poem to the UK's anonymous national poetry competition and won it. Rose Friedman, NPR News.
California's Supreme Court is hearing from opponents of the death penalty today. They're challenging the voter-approved measure that's designed to speed up the pace of executions in the state. The case was brought after voters approved Proposition 66 last November. The ballot initiative would appoint more appellate lawyers and assign some cases to trial judges. It would also set a 5-year deadline to complete state appeals. It's been more than a decade since California has executed a death row inmate. I'm Windsor Johnston, and you're listening to NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes
Oh,
from
well, I can't do
Avalara,
that.
tax automation for businesses of all sizes. Avalara
Got the
works to
camera plugged
simplify
into
sales
the-
tax and other business taxes with real-time rates and automatic filing at avalara.com. AVALARA.com.
It's easy to get buried underneath daily headlines and miss the nuance of what's going on and why.
Would not fund a top Trump priority. Growth remains solid, wages are rising, and
a status quo establishment politics.
With each story, we take the time to ask another question, to give you the background, to make sure you know the answer to the question, why? Stand with the facts. Listen to All Things Considered every day.
On 90.5 WBSA, Pittsburgh's NPR news station.
From NPR and WBUR, I'm Jeremy Hobson.
I'm Robin Young. It's Here and Now, and we start this hour in Iraq with the first of a two-part look at the fight to retake Mosul, the last major city held by ISIS. CNN special international correspondent Arwa Damon has just returned from western Mosul, where ISIS has been cornered. She joins us from neighboring Erbil on Skype. Her descriptions about what's happening to Iraqis will be disturbing. And Arwa, today we want to hear about what look like American troops trying to save them. They're hunkered down next to a tank to protect themselves from ISIS fire. One of them is going to run through to get to Iraqi bodies about 50 feet away, but they're not American troops. Who are they?
Most of them are members of a nonprofit that's called the Free Burma Rangers and was established by Dave Eubanks. He's actually the man who runs forward in one of these videos and then ends up pulling this little girl out from a pile of corpses. And she has been hiding underneath her mother's hijab for probably 2 or 3 days. And he was describing how when he went to grab her, she actually screamed and didn't want to let go of her mother's body. But he's there with the Free Burma Rangers, and they're volunteer medics. And there's also other American volunteers who are with them, and they were laying down suppressive fire after the Americans they're supporting, the Iraqis, actually put down a curtain of smoke that allowed them to then carry out this incredible rescue operation.
It's incredible. Let's listen to a little of the sound of, again, this is Dave Eubanks, an ex-Special Forces who's now this volunteer with this group, Free Burma Rangers, showing you on his cell phone.
Give you some other
this video.
exciting
We'll have it all at hereanow.org.
audio.
Telling you what he saw. Let's listen.
We saw these 13 bodies, and we saw movement. Here they are. Look at that wall.
A man alive, and a little girl who creeps out from under her dead mother's hijab, where she'd been hiding for 2 days, hugging her mother's corpse. Then they show you this video of how under cover of the fire from the Free Burma Rangers home.
The forecast for Pittsburgh and surrounding counties. For this afternoon, considerable cloudiness early, then becoming partly sunny. Isolated thunderstorms. Scattered showers. Unseasonably cool. Near steady temperature in the lower 60s. Northwest winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. For tonight, mostly cloudy. Scattered showers with isolated thunderstorms in the evening. Lows in the lower 50s. North winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. For Wednesday, considerable cloudiness with isolated thunderstorms. Isolated showers in the morning, then scattered showers in the afternoon. Unseasonably cool with highs in the mid-60s. Northeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance of rain 40%. For Wednesday night, mostly cloudy. Scattered showers with isolated thunderstorms in the evening, then a slight chance of showers after midnight. Lows in the lower 50s. East winds around 5 miles per hour. Chance of rain 30%. For Thursday, mostly cloudy with a chance of showers. Highs around 70. East winds around 5 miles per hour. Chance of rain 30%. And for Thursday night, mostly cloudy. Lows in the lower 50s. And now, taking a look at the extended forecast for Friday, partly cloudy. Highs in the mid-70s. For Friday night, partly cloudy. Lows in the mid-50s. For Saturday, partly cloudy. Highs in the upper 70s. For Saturday night, mainly clear. Lows in the upper 50s. For Sunday, mostly sunny. Highs in the mid-80s. For Sunday night, mainly clear. Lows in the mid-60s. And for Monday, mostly sunny. Highs in the upper 80s. Here is the river report. Rivers will gradually fall over the next 48 hours. The following are today's 7 a.m. observed stages. On the Monongahela River, the Great Landing stage was 9.9 feet. At Charleroi, the stage was 10.5 feet. At Elizabeth, the stage was 10.3 feet. And at Braddock, the stage was 12.8